So you can see that we've pasted our deer onto our workspace, and you can see as we toggle the relief preview we can see him here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually close our relief clip art library, and I'm going to select a create rectangle tool, and you'll see why I'm going to do this very shortly here. I'm just going to draw a rectangle around our deer, and I'm going to center it. And we're now going to go to Toolpath, and we're going to now create a toolpath for this particular project. Now I'm going to click on the 3D, in the 3D toolpath section you see there are two options. One is create machine relief toolpaths, the other one is a laser machining toolpath. Obviously we're using a machine relief toolpath because we're not using a laser. And we're going to select selected vectors as opposed to whole relief. So the difference between these two options is this. If I selected whole relief, what will happen is it will machine the entire project area, so the entire workspace is going to be machined away, leaving the deer in full relief. And the problem that I have with that is that if I am using, for example, one of our eye carvers, on the left hand side I'm going to have a fence, on the right hand side very likely going to have clamps, and if I'm going to machine this down to a 1/2 inch depth, there's a very good possibility that my tool is going to make contact with either the fence on the left or the clamps on the right, or in some cases maybe even both. So instead what I've done is created this rectangle, and I am now going to machine inside. As you can see, it says inside vector. It's going to machine inside that selected vector. Now notice I didn't select the deer. I only selected the rectangle, because what the software will do is essentially look inside that rectangle, and any 3D models that it sees, it will machine them. For a finishing tool, we are going to go down into our eye carver series of tools, and we're going to select the eye carver conical V-bit 1/32 inch, and we're going to select that. And the other option we're going to look at is, this time we're going to use a roughing tool. So I'm going to click to select the tool that we want to select for roughing. In this case we're going to use a larger tool, a 1/4 inch end mill, up spiral. Up spirals tend to be used if we're clearing out area, because we're not as concerned about finished edge. And in this case we're just trying to clear out some material, so we're going to select that. And we move a little bit further down here to our define material. I will show you one other setting here that sometimes requires some change, and that is the Safe Z and the Home Z. I'm going to open this up, and you're going to see that the Safe Z, in my particular case, is defaulted at around 0.8 inches. I'm going to change this to 0.25 inches, and essentially what that means is that when the tool is hovering above the material, moving from location to location, it's going to only do so a 1/4 inch above the material. So it's going to be a little bit more economical with this movement. The Home Z is where the tool will come to rest at the beginning and the end of the program, and again I've set that also at a 1/4 inch. I'm also going to click on this option here to define our material. Let me just expand this window so you can see it just a bit better. And clicking this to open it up, you can see our material setup. We have some options here. Our model thickness is 0.499, or roughly 0.5 inches. Material thickness now we're going to establish at whatever our particular material thickness is. In this case I'm going to use a board that's 3/4 inch in thickness. And I'm going to set both the material Z0 and the model position in the material at the top of the block. So that means we'll reference off the top of the block. It also means that the model is going to be referenced at the top of the block, which means there will be material left over underneath. And you can see on our illustration here, it's going to machine the dark gray areas illustrating where the model will be machined out from the top 1/2 inch of material, and then the last 1/4 inch material will not be touched. So we're going to click OK, and we're going to calculate. And you can see it's calculating first the roughing toolpath or the clearance toolpath, and then the finishing toolpath. And once completed, we can close our machine relief window, and now we can run our simulation. And you see the roughing toolpath went fairly quickly. The finishing toolpath, because it's creating a lot more detail, it's taking a little bit longer. And when we're done, which should be very soon, there we go. You can see that we've machined the deer in full relief. If we zoom in, we can take a look at the detail. And the nice thing about the 3D preview is it's going to give you a pretty good idea as to the level of detail and how you're we're going to contend with machining lines. You can see it's very clean along the edges here. If we were using too high a step over, we may find that we've got a little bit more machining lines to contend with, but in this case our deer looks very good and looks like it's a good model for us to machine.